Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We're getting closer and closer to the weekend. Don't you worry. But for now, we have a great 49ers report on tap. According to the Seattle Times and their writer, Seahawks insider Bob Condotta, the 49ers have been in touch with free agent safety Jamal Adams. Let's discuss it here because I think this is interesting on so many fronts. Bob Condotta saying this in the Seattle Times, that a reunion with Seattle and Jamal Adams is completely possible, but sources said the San Francisco 49ers are one of a handful of teams who have kept in touch with Adams, so the Seahawks could have some competition for the former All-Pro safety, who is still just 28 years old. Any contract for Adams would obviously be nowhere near as costly as his previous deal, a 4-year pact signed in August of 2021 that was due to pay him up to $72 million. It's pretty wild when you think about Jamal Adams right now only being 28 years old. It feels as though he's been in the league a lot longer and he's been so injured, so he feels a lot older. And honestly, I'm staying far away from Jamal Adams because I think at this point, he's completely cooked. And revisionist history, let's look back at it. The Jamal Adams trade, one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL. That is not a hyperbolic statement. Seattle sent 2 first-round picks to the Jets for him and then gave him that lofty contract extension that we just talked about here. And Adams' play throughout his tenure with the Seahawks never came close to that value of 2 first-rounders and then the money on that contract. Injuries, poor play, inconsistent play, a lot of bad penalties, him not being available, really defined his Seahawks tenure. And as a safety, we saw last year when Debo cooked him. We've seen time and time again how poorly he plays in coverage. He looks like a player on tape at the safety spot who is completely washed. But would the Niners have plans for him to play a different position? A position in which he doesn't have to have the same speed or the same range as he was required to have at the safety position. Could Adams be converted into a hybrid linebacker and primarily and only play in the box where his physicality could give this defense a little bit of an edge? That is the only way that Jamal Adams to the San Francisco 49ers makes any semblance of sense. The physicality and the thump that he brings, that's cool. It's fun to watch. He can lay the boom. But at the safety position in today's NFL, you got to do more and you have to be able to cover. And Adams hasn't been able to hold up in coverage. And speaking of the injuries, once again, injured in 2023. Only 9 games played. 48 tackles, 7 TFLs, 2 pass breakups, no interceptions. His coverage numbers, not good at all. When I say that he can't hold up in coverage, I'm not kidding. He allowed a completion rate of 82.4%, 292 yards in those 9 games. 2 touchdowns is what he surrendered. The 2 pass breakups and the 2 interceptions, and surrendered a quarterback rating of 122.1. The lack of availability, the lack of production, the lack of coverage ability have been massive issues. And that's why this trade, just a catastrophic disaster for the Seattle Seahawks, which, if you're a Niner fan, it's beautiful to see because F Seattle always. The games played year by year over the last 4 campaigns. 12, 12, 1, 9. When you're paying a player that much money and the results are what they've been, and then the lack of production is what it is, I'm surprised even that Seattle is thinking about a reunion with Jamal Adams. But what does the faithful think? Should San Francisco give it a go? Should they sign him as a depth piece? Should they sign him as a hybrid linebacker given the uncertainty around Dre Greenlaw? Type S for signed or W for washed right now down in the comment section. Ricky Pearsall, the pick at number 31 overall, was certainly a shock for me, just like giving up 2 first-rounders for Jamal Adams was a shock. I've warmed up to the selection, though. And the more I think about it, it's a luxury pick for San Francisco. Did they need to go that route? No. But the way that he fits in alongside Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, is pretty intriguing to me. If he has to replace one this year, then I have an issue with it. If you like the pick, you want a Ricky Pearsall jersey, he is going to wear number 14, by the way. They're available right now. All you have to do, use that link down below, chatsports.com/Pearsall. Sticking with the safety position for San Francisco here. I think they're in a pretty good spot, and we'll certainly see what the fringes of the roster look like. We'll see how Talanoa Hufanga is able to come back off that torn ACL. We know what type of player he's capable of being. Shoot, in his sophomore campaign in 2022, he was a first-team All-Pro. At times, Talanoa Hufanga can struggle in coverage. He's a little bit of a liability there. That's why the Niners try to hide him at moments, and they utilize him around the box, hybrid linebacker, coming off the edge on some blitzes. But he just has a knack for making plays, and his instincts are tremendous at the safety spot. But Talanoa Hufanga, coming off a serious injury and in a contract year, if he is healthy, I'd be surprised if he doesn't start along Jair Brown. Now, Jair Brown, I think, is a little bit stronger as far as his well-rounded game because I think that he's a little bit better in coverage. I thought that was the case when he played at Penn State compared to Hufanga at USC. And last year, we saw that Brown has a similar game to Hufanga, but I think he has better range and better instincts as a deep safety. And then elsewhere, you brought back George Odom, solid backup, one of the better special teams players in the National Football League. And then you drafted Malik Mustafa, who I think a lot of Niner fans are going to grow to really, really like for a multitude of reasons. And this is why bringing in Jamal Adams at safety doesn't really make a lot of sense because I think this Niners roster is in a pretty good position here. Mustafa grew up a Niners fan his entire life. He plays downhill with tenacity, fire, and physicality. He can line up anywhere on the field for this Niners defense. Some can make the argument he's the best tackling safety in this class. He has good center field range against the pass. I think that he can play special teams right away if he's not a coverage safety from the jump and has a stacked and yoked frame. He's a little bit tiny when you just look at the height and weight, but if you actually look at him and you see the burst and the athleticism, he's kind of a freak. He's also a very smart and heady player, and I think because of that, combined with the experience that he put together at Wake Forest, he could be relied upon to see some snaps as a rookie. Make sure you give me a follow on X, give me a follow on Instagram, let me know what you thought about today's show. Or I put out a bunch of short-form content on my social media pages as well. It's all blowing up. I've reached 1.2 million accounts over the last month on IG. Same on X, formerly known as Twitter. Give me a follow at Chase_Senior.